You exist because a few thousand humans, starving under ash-choked skies, refuse to die. This is how close we came to never happening at all. The sky hasn't been blue in months. Ash falls like slow snow, coating rivers, choking grasslands, burying the world you once knew. You huddle with your group, fewer now than when the darkness began. Hunger gnaws deeper than fear. Somewhere out there, other bands are going silent one by one. Scientists believe humanity's entire population may have collapsed to fewer people than fill a small town today. Not a nation. Not a city. A neighborhood. We stood at the edge of oblivion. And yet, somehow, we didn't fall. What happened next shaped every human alive today. Most extinctions don't announce themselves. They arrive quietly through scarcity, through isolation, through populations that shrink just past the point of no return. For early humans, that threshold was terrifyingly close. Unlike species spread across vast territories with built-in buffers, our ancestors were concentrated, fragile, and deeply dependent on stable environments that were rapidly unraveling. Lose enough groups, and genetic diversity collapses. Lose enough diversity, and adaptation becomes impossible. And without adaptation, there is no recovery. This wasn't just a population crisis. It was a moment where the entire human story could have simply ended. No civilization, no language, no us. The margin was that thin. We live in a world engineered against uncertainty. Grocery shelves restocked overnight, temperatures controlled with a dial, 8 billion people so thoroughly spread across the planet that extinction feels like a concept reserved for other species. But most people don't realize how recently that wasn't true. How recently we were the vulnerable ones. How recently a single catastrophic event was enough to push our entire species to the edge of disappearing forever. Your ancestors didn't have buffers. They had each other, dwindling food and skies that had forgotten how to be clear. That was us. Not long ago at all. Approximately 74,000 years ago, a supervolcano beneath what is now Lake Toba in Sumatra erupted with a force so violent it dwarfs anything in recorded human history. It released roughly 2,800 cubic kilometers of material into the atmosphere. To put that in perspective, the Mount St. Helens eruption of 1980 released about 1 cubic kilometer. Toba was in a category almost beyond imagination. The resulting volcanic winter likely plunged global temperatures by several degrees, collapsed vegetation across entire continents, and devastated the food chains that early humans depended on entirely. Here's where it gets genetically haunting. Humans today show remarkably low genetic diversity compared to other species. Chimpanzees living within a single forest display more genetic variation than all 8 billion humans combined. That uniformity points towards something dramatic, a severe population bottleneck, potentially reducing breeding individuals to somewhere between 1,000 and 10,000 people. Scientists debate the precise connection between Toba and this bottleneck. Not everyone agrees the eruption was the sole trigger, but the convergence of geological evidence and genetic data is difficult to dismiss. Something reduced us severely and suddenly to almost nothing. So how did anyone make it through at all? The answer appears to be etched into the cliffs of South Africa's southern coast. At a site called Pinnacle Point, archaeologists uncovered evidence of early humans exploiting coastal resources roughly 164,000 years ago, and critically, continuing through the period of greatest environmental stress. Shellfish. marine life. Food sources that volcanic winters couldn't easily destroy because the ocean, unlike the land, retained thermal stability. But survival wasn't just about finding food, it was about thinking differently. At these same sites, researchers found early evidence of symbolic thinking: ochre pigments, abstract engravings, the faint but unmistakable signs of minds organized as meaning. Tools grew more refined, behaviors grew more complex. What evolutionary biology suggests is profound: small groups sharing knowledge, distributing risk, and maintaining social bonds weren't just surviving more comfortably. They were surviving at all. Cooperation wasn't a luxury our ancestors developed after stability arrived. It was the mechanism that created stability in the first place. The groups that made it through weren't necessarily the strongest. They were the most connected. This bottleneck left a permanent signature, not just in our genes, but in our psychology. That genetic similarity we carry worldwide isn't coincidence. It's inheritance from a population so small that we remain, in essence, a single extended family scattered across continents. We're more genetically alike than we have any evolutionary right to be. But here's what's even deeper: the behaviors that pulled those survivors through, cooperation, storytelling, social bonding, shared knowledge, didn't disappear when the skies cleared. They became woven into what it means to be human. They're why we form communities instinctively, why we teach, why we remember and retell. Resilience isn't something we admire in ancient humans from a distance. It's something we inherited directly. It's embedded in how we think, how we connect, how we survive uncertainty even now. We are, all of us, descendants of the ones who refuse to let go. Every person you pass on the street, every face in a crowd, every human being alive today descends from ancestors who endured near total collapse and chose somehow to keep going. That resilience we see in their story isn't something distant or abstract. It lives in us, in how we adapt, in how we connect under pressure, in how we find meaning even when the world feels uncertain. Humanity almost didn't happen. We came so close to never existing at all. And yet here we are, fragile, unlikely, remarkable, still here.